La sobretaula.
Doncs bé, ja ha començat el Festival de Cinema, de Terror de Molins de Rei. Per fi ja tornem a l'edició física i una de les coses que ens aporta, com sempre, l'edició física és el contacte. I el contacte amb la gent com avui, que se m'ha apropat, ara m'està fent una foto, el senyor Daniel Byers, director americà, que de fet m'ha vingut a rescatar gairebé del bar, perquè m'ha dit, aquest seient està lliure, i li he dit, pues sí, i ens hem posat a xerrar, ens hem posat a beure cerveses, després hem vist el seu curt, i res, doncs ara el tinc aquí. Hello, Daniel. Thank you for being here.
Hello, Paul. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so we just watched your short film, Penumbra. It's spelled like this, like it's Penumbra.
Penumbra, that's right.
Okay. Well, first of all, how are you? How are you feeling here in Spain?
You know, it's really a joy to be here because I don't think there's any place in the world that has the type of enthusiasm for horror, sci-fi films as Spain does. And this is something that I had heard about for years. You know, obviously there's Sitges, which is the famous one, but what I've discovered in coming here is that it's infectious. It's everywhere. and that just like love of the genre, you really see it in the audience. And I don't know, I think it was the best screening I've ever had of my film because people were laughing, sometimes when I didn't expect them to, but always like happy for a laugh and gasping when I wanted them to, and it's just an incredibly good energy here. So I'm overjoyed to be here. I flew straight from Film Quest from Utah, where I was the last few days, so I'm very jet-lagged, a little groggy, but the beer's helping, and I'm glad to be amongst a lot of kindred spirits.
That's great. So you've been already in screen in America, and then in Europe. Is the very first festival, or there's another festival that have screened the short film?
Yeah, we were first selected by the Imagine Film Festival in Amsterdam. That was our first European selection, and since then we've played a few other European festivals and American ones as well. Like I said, Film Quest, I think that's our biggest one in the US that we've played in so far. And yeah, just like I said, there's no place like Spain.
Well, thank you. Yeah, here mostly in Catalonia we have this big genre like, fever and festivals, and with all the alliance here in Catalonia with the TAC, and Molins is actually one of these festivals in TAC. But, we're going to talk about the short film that we just saw. For me, it's technically great. I mean, this is a really great film, and I also think that maybe we will see some awards coming because
let's hope.
It's a really great short film. But starting with the technical aspects, what was the camera that you used?
So we actually shot this on a C300 Mark II, which is one of the cheaper cameras that I've made a film on, but we did it for a reason. We wanted to be fast and we wanted to be mobile, and we were moving around a lot, and I had a lot of very specific camera directing and blocking that I needed for the film. And so in order to pull off some of those moves, we wanted a lighter camera, and so yeah, that's what we went with.
No, I'm asking you because with this camera, not only for the shots that were beautiful, because I think it's a short film that integrates so good the visual effects, because you have to know, audience, that this short film, it's like a mix between horror, drama, and also sci-fi. This kind of visual effects with floating things, I don't know how to spell it, but and it's so well integrated to the image. So I think it's really well done, all the efforts in the post-production things, and also, before everything, tell us about the short film. What is it about, more or less?
Well,
without
thank
spoilers.
you. I did my own visual effects, so I appreciate that. I'm glad that they're working well, and I think my approach to visual effects is that they should never be done arbitrarily. They should always be supporting something deeper, something more emotionally true about the fabric of the film. And so when I conceived of the film, it was inspired by looking at a Michelangelo painting, The Creation of Adam. And I was looking at that, and you probably, if you've seen the film, you know which frame was inspired by that. But that was kind of the visual inspiration for everything. But I also grew up loving astronomy, and as a kid, I knew the diameter, the circumference of every planet in the solar system. I don't anymore, so don't ask me, don't quiz me, but I was really obsessed with it. But I remember learning about dark matter and dark energy, and how 95% of the universe, or something crazy like that, is made up of something that we can't detect, something we can't see. We know it's there, we know that it's exerting gravitational force, invisible force on our universe, but we can't see it. Maybe we can't even fathom it, maybe our brains aren't built to fathom it. And that's where the idea for the monster sort of came from. I was thinking, there's all these films about aliens coming down in flying saucers and shooting beams of light, and I wanted to kind of do the opposite. I was like, what if they came from the 95% of the universe, the vast majority of the universe that we can't interact with, but they can still use forces like gravity, invisible forces, to interact with us. And so I wanted to play with negative space and darkness.
I mean, those effects, but these narrative scenes with the bodies floating and objects and all these metaphors, no, with the sisters, no, it was sisters.
It was sisters, absolutely.
And all these the monster that you came up. This monster that I remember, like this kind of slender man, like a shadow, but with the tentacles like Hollow Knight, like this kind of. But it only appears like, like a fragment of, like a second, and it burns in your mind, like, what the fuck? And all the shots are really beautiful. Also the space and the with the drone, the images with the drone. So this brings me. This eye with the landscapes and everything, I think it comes from another world that is besides cinema, so I think it's documentary.
Yeah, that's right. So I also make nature documentary films, which I can show my grandmother, unlike a lot of the other films I like to make. And yeah, I think I do bring it into my horror work in some way or another. In this film, I think one of the main influences, other than just the beauty of the heavens, right? I've seen some incredibly beautiful starscapes. I've been lucky enough to be up at high altitude in the Himalayas and the Andes and just seen some stars that blow your mind, and I wanted to try and capture that and have these stars that felt almost too real to be real, too big, too present, but then also really emphasizing the negative space that was captured around them and in front of them. But another influence in the film was rock climbing. I'm a rock climber. I do it for my work. I do it for fun. And I was thinking, all these alien abduction movies, people get sucked up into the sky, one form or another. They levitate up. There's these gravitational beams. And I was like, well, I would just clip in if that happened to me. I'd just throw my harness on, and I'd get a carabiner, and I'd clip into something. Yeah. And then I could control that. So I was like, what if the hero has the ability to has that superpower, right? Has the rock climbing power and uses that to try to save her sister in this moment. You're talking about metaphors before.
Yeah.
And I think really the film's about trust at a basic level, and it's about, if nobody sort of believes you, then what's the difference between having lost your mind and having witnessed something impossible? And so it's sort of a circular structure. One of the sisters starts out in that position, the other one ends up in it, and then all of the sort of fun shots that you're talking about where they're levitating in the sky, clinging on to each other, everything like that. I think you could look at that on the metaphoric level as well, as being about the connection between them and whether that trust can hold, and whether, who's gonna have to sacrifice to save who. So
no, that was really cool, and not only the effects, I mean the whole story, because if it's only effects without a plot is okay, but here is the opposite, and also this scene with the rope and everything, and that the people like the sister trying to grab the other sister that is like flying, reminded me this kind of like metaphor with the directors and the producers, like the director trying to fly, I want this big short film, and then the producer is like, no, come down to earth. That leads me, how was the funding? And how was how do you get the money, or the the production? And
yeah, so I made this as part of my MFA program at Columbia University School of the Arts. I'm in a directing screenwriting program there. So our budget was capped pretty low, actually. They don't let us spend more than a couple of $1,000s on a film. But we got a lot of in-kind support from the local area. There are a lot of local businesses that supported us with food and with other sort of material support. And then my producer, he's a Serbian guy named Ivan, and he's the reason I'm here. He told me to submit to Molins. He said it was a great festival. He said, trust me, go to Spain. There's nowhere else like it for genre films. Yeah. So yeah, it was actually very cheap. We made it cheaply because I shot it in my grandmother's cabin in upstate New York, and we put up everybody there, and we got all our food donated. So our budget was actually quite small for the film, and I'm happy that it doesn't look that way, because I think that's everybody's goal.
Actually, the whole house seems like this rented house. Even you can imagine, this built-up house only for the short film. So congratulations on your 2000 short film, because it looks amazing. I mean, the value of the production it's well spent. I mean, and then you were talking about your university, no? Back in USA, and is this university like trying to build also like this genre scene there? I mean, we have here lots of private universities and cinema, and maybe and even in the big awards here in Catalonia in Spain, genre is not that kind of, these type of films that are normally supported. Not because they don't interested. It's more common here to watch, like drama or historical or comedy. But genre is this kind of, okay, you have your own friends and your own festival. Genre is like this big family, but it's outsider, no?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Columbia University is known for, it's a drama school, and it's known for being a good screenwriting school and a good directing school. And I don't think that actually very many people at the school make genre work. In fact, I often felt like an alien in the room, in context of the film, no pun intended, but like in my cohort. But I think the core that they teach in terms of dramatic storytelling driven by character wants and needs applies to every story, and I don't know, I think it was Henry Zabowski who said this. He said, horror is just drama with really high stakes. And that's how I feel too. I'm like, the reason that I make horror movies is just because low stakes, I kind of get bored, I can go to like a great Sundance film and just be like, but oh man, I don't care about these rich people with rich people problems. I want to see somebody running for their life. I want to see somebody fighting to save someone that they love. Mm-hmm. These are the things that excite me. And so I think that's why ultimately I work in what is considered genre. Although I would also challenge and say that every film is a genre film. Drama is a genre, that type of Sundance film that we all know, that's a genre. Comedy is a genre. I mean, they're all genres. Yeah. So we happen to be working in one that other people see as fringe, and yet it's the most popular one, has been for 50, 60 years. Basically, since the invention of film, horror has been the thing that pushes the film industry forward and that most people want to watch. Yeah. And so I don't find it to be lowbrow, and if it is lowbrow, I don't care. I love to be a part of it.
Any new projects coming?
Yeah, so I shot my first feature film last summer. The working title is Banishment, but it's a working title. It may change. We've got a picture lock on it, and it is in post right now in LA. We're doing our finishing mix and our finishing color. So that will be getting released sometime next year. And we don't know where yet, but we're optimistic that it'll be somewhere that you know and can see.
Okay. Between short films and feature films, now that you have experienced both, which are like main differences in the pre-production? It's not only like the script is longer, okay. The main things that you watch, like that you experience, no, that like the difficulties or the length of the pre-production.
Sure. I think there's just there's a question of complexity, right? You're dealing with a much more complicated structure for a story, and a short film is basically one arc, whereas a feature film is at least three and then sub-arcs within that. And so making something work that's satisfying, that's fun to watch and that clicks together on a character level and on a plot level, it's just a much bigger undertaking. So I'll say my experience with doing a feature was pretty humbling, because we wrote a script, we executed the production, we made something, and then we realized, like after months of edit, that it just wasn't quite working. There were missing pieces, and there were glaring holes that needed to be filled. And we tried everything we could to do that with edit, because that's what you can do cheaply, is just re-editing to make the story work. And eventually, had a little bit of a eureka moment a few weeks away from when we needed to have our picture locked, when our producer had put his foot down, and it was like, we need to reshoot. This is like the one thing we need to fill this hole and make this work. And it's always the love, right? You've got to show the love between your characters, even if they're going to eventually kill each other, right? Because if they don't love each other first, then what's the point? In seeing them tear each other apart. And so that was what we basically went back to do, to fix a little bit of the plot and to show the love in a way that it needed to be shown. And now I think the film works, But I think that was the biggest thing for me, was realizing that writing the film doesn't end until you're watching it in the theater.
I mean, they take it from you.
Until they take it away. That's right. You're still writing when you're editing. You're still writing after you're done editing, because you're going to go back for reshoots. Almost every film does. And then you're going back and edit after that, so you're still writing at that point. And probably you're going back to rewrite some of the scenes you wrote before when you do your reshoot. So just the fact that there's like no real separation at any point in the process until you're done. And
That's right.
I found that to be like, it's intimidating, but it's also kind of freeing. You don't have to get it perfect the first time. You should leave yourself open to the possibility that you're going to get as close as you can, and then you're going to go back and get it the rest of the way.
And the last thing, give some advice to new filmmakers or for the short films, and new filmmakers for the feature films, because we have sometimes like audience that are facing or the short film or the future film. Like, your thoughts, no? What's the best advice that you can give?
Yeah, I would say for either, the main piece of advice that I would give is just to go out and do it. Don't let whatever thing is holding you back hold you back, because there's a lot of reasons not to do it. And that could be money, that could be time, that could be feeling like you're not good enough or you don't know what your story is well enough yet. The only way you're going to figure out any of those things is by getting into the mud and getting into the trenches and making something. And it's going to be trial and error, and it's going to take a few tries probably, but the idea that you need to hold back and wait for the events to be perfect, for the stars to all align, some people get that lucky. Most of us don't. And most of my favorite directors went out and made some bad movies before they made the brilliant ones that we all know and love today. So I would say that would be my main piece of advice. Make it with whatever you have, whatever camera you have, with your friends. Go out and make it. You'll learn a lot, and you'll learn a whole lot more than you will sitting in a room waiting for money or producers to accept you. And then if you're a shorts filmmaker, great. I think that there are more opportunities for that now in the world now than there used to be. There are more platforms that are programming shorts. I would still suggest, if you want to get serious about your career, you should try and transition into features, because there's just a bigger market, and there's a real market for them. You can sell them for real money, whereas a short, it's pretty hard unless you're able to leverage one into becoming a feature, which is another route that, again, you have to get lucky, but can work for you. So yeah, wherever you are in the process, and absolutely doing shorts will teach you to make features. So if you don't feel ready to plunge into something that massive yet, then do a short. It'll teach you a lot, and then do a feature and you realize you didn't learn anything and you have to start all over again.